Something unbelievable happened in the Sue mansion today, an arrangement so twisted it might just tear the family apart. The so-called Jinx, Sue An, was suddenly forced to replace her precious stepsister on a high-stakes blind date. Why? Because the Sue family's entire fortune teetered on the brink, and only a marriage alliance with the city's most powerful CEO could save them. Heart pounding, An never imagined she'd walk into the greatest surprise of her life, a man rumored to be colder than ice, but struck by her presence from the very first glance. Little did anyone know that this one desperate switch would ignite a powerful love story and uncover hidden secrets that could change everything. Madame Sue, raising her voice,
I warned you not to anger the Luo family. If we lose their support, not just you, but our entire household will be ruined.
her fury sprang not solely from any maternal concern, but from the knowledge that Luo Huaijin, the formidable CEO of the Luo Group, held the power to fortify or destroy their business. A wedding between him and Xinyi was the Su family's single lifeline.
Mom, I know I was wrong, but please have mercy. I really can't go through with marrying him. I just can't.
A tense silence choked the room for a heartbeat. Then Madame Sue's eyes hardened, and she clenched her fists. She darted her gaze toward An, who stood meekly off to the side, arms folded, dressed in shabby cleaning clothes that bore all the signs of hard labor. Madame Sue, turning to An,
If Xinyi won't fix her mistakes, then we must rely on the Jinx. That's you, Suanan.
At that name, the servants who overheard exchanged uneasy looks. They knew the rumors. As a baby, An had supposedly brought endless misfortune to the Sue family, culminating in a terrifying hemorrhage her stepmother suffered right after childbirth. Labeled a curse, An was swiftly sent away. But after 15 years, she returned, weak, timid, and wholly at the mercy of the Sue household. An lifted her gaze cautiously, blinking to steady herself. If her presence could help her ailing foster mother survive, she would do anything. Thus began the daily cruelty from her stepfamily, who never hid their disgust for her. Not far away in the grand foyer, Mr. Sue, the family patriarch, had just arrived. He had overheard enough to know that Xinyi's refusal posed a major problem. They needed a solution. And fast. He paused in the doorway, though it did not stop him from delivering cold words. Mr. Sue, with a dismissive wave.
Our business depends on that engagement with Luo Huaijin. If my own daughter won't cooperate, then so be it. We'll use An.
Xinyi released a shaky breath, eyes gleaming with an idea. She hurried after her father and mother, determined to strike her own bargain. Perhaps if An took her place, she could still maintain her freedom without fully jeopardizing the Sue family's deal. In the background, An's thoughts turned to her beloved foster mother, ill and reliant on costly medical treatments. The Sue family had promised to continue funding those treatments if An remained obedient. Soon enough, the order came. She was to masquerade as Xinyi and meet with Luo Huaijin, taking on the role of the fiancée. Though she felt frightened by the elaborate ruse, she had no choice. Late that afternoon, An stood in a quiet corridor by the kitchen, recalling a time from her childhood. She remembered being cornered by bullies, shaking in fear, until a brave young boy, about her age, intervened and saved her. That incident left an ugly scar upon his waist. The memory flickered across her mind with bittersweet warmth. She wondered where that savior was now, and if fate would ever allow her to repay him. The memory was cut short by a shrill voice. Su Xinyi, stomping in, seething.
Anan, I told you to tidy up in my room. Why are you loafing around here?
An flinched as Xinyi leveled her with a scornful glare. Living under the same roof as her stepsister had been a never-ending punishment. She hurried away from the kitchen, quietly continuing her chores. In Xinyi's lavishly decorated suite upstairs, glass shards glittered on the floor, remnants of a broken cup that Xinyi had swept onto the ground in a huff. Xinyi, pointing to the shards,
Pick them up with your hands.
An hesitated, certain that she would cut herself, but Xinyi's frigid stare brooked no argument. Out of desperation, An knelt to gather the jagged pieces. She tried to brace herself for the inevitable sting. A moment later, Xinyi snatched a folded paper from An's pocket, the design blueprint for a bridal line. Xinyi, sneering at the blueprint.
What's this? Didn't know you had hidden talents.
She flipped through the drawings with an air of mockery, but her eyes glittered with interest. A cunning smile appeared as she recognized a way to claim the credit for herself, boosting her status in the Luo group's eyes. Xinyi, warning.
Remember, if you dare speak out and tell anyone these designs are yours, I'll make sure your poor foster mother doesn't make it.
A flash of terror crossed An's face. She could only nod in submission, swallowing her anguish. If keeping silent about her stolen work was the only way to keep her foster mother alive, she would do it. Days flew by, each more suffocating than the last. The Su family's scheme pressed forward. Under orders from Mr. Su, An spent her time alternating between cleaning duties and learning to imitate Xinyi's mannerisms, everything from how she spoke to her posture. The marriage arrangement was imminent, and they needed An to be convincing. By mid-morning, Mr. Su's voice boomed down the grand hallway, summoning both Xinyi and An into the study.
The Luo group is finalizing the wedding's press conference. Xinyi, or should I say An, you'll attend the meeting with them as the prospective bride. Don't slip up.
Xinyi, standing off to the side with her arms crossed, rolled her eyes. She seemed oddly calm, for all her protests earlier about not wanting to marry Luo Huaijin. But there was a shrewdness behind her eyes. She wanted the glory that came with the name Mrs. Luo. But she also wanted none of the obligations. If An could handle the awkward parts, so be it. And so, when Luo Huaijin himself arrived at the Su estate later that day, he was greeted by Xinyi at the door, but trailed by An, who subtly mirrored Xinyi's movements. The man exuded quiet confidence, wearing a sharp suit that accentuated his tall frame and intense gaze. Luo Huaijin, nodding politely.
Xinyi, I was in the area. I came to pick you up. The new designs are ready for review, and I'd like your input before our upcoming meeting.
Xinyi, with a practiced smile.
Of course, Huaijin, let's go.
An stood with her head lowered, quietly collecting the scattered remains of a spilled drink near the door. She dared not look directly at him. Even from afar, though, she felt his presence like a commanding force. Suddenly, Xinyi flicked her hand in An's direction.
Clean faster, worthless cleaner. You're in the way.
Her words cut deep, but An kept her head bowed and hurried. She did, however, notice how Luo Huaijin's eyes flicked over to her, a faint curiosity stirring there. Yet, in the swirl of commotion, no one commented on it. They all swept out into the waiting car soon after, leaving her behind to finish her chore. In the following days, the Luo group's design meeting commenced in a spacious conference room downtown. Leading the presentation was none other than Director Su, which was Xinyi's official title. Of course, it was An who had truly created the designs, all based on years of modest schooling, unwavering passion, and hidden talent. When Xinyi began to speak before the board members, she laid out the first design called Stars, a bridal concept that fused modern edginess with classic elegance. The board was enthralled by the uniqueness of the sketches, never suspecting that the meek cleaning girl had penned them. Luo Huaijin, impressed.
This concept seamlessly incorporates elements popular among younger generations. I believe it will be quite successful in the current market.
Xinyi basked in the glow of the praise, but stumbled slightly when she had to explain additional details. She glanced covertly at An, who sat in the corner, ready to feed her lines if necessary.
Yes, indeed. I intend to expand it into an entire series. We can further integrate, sustainability and other trends to meet the demand of modern consumers.
With the skillful prompting An had given her in secret, Xinyi's presentation concluded smoothly. The board applauded, and Huaijin stood, looking particularly pleased. He announced that the Stars series would proceed under Director Su's leadership. Silence fell as Xinyi held back a triumphant grin. Although the more An watched, the more her heart panged with injustice. Yet she reminded herself of her vow: keep her foster mother safe, no matter the cost. After the meeting, Luo Huaijin lingered in the hallway, his composure unwavering. He complimented Xinyi, but something in his gaze suggested he noticed subtle discrepancies in her behavior. Perhaps the old Xinyi would have boasted more flamboyantly, demanded immediate recognition, or pressed for special conditions. Still, he brushed away his doubts. Luo Huaijin, softly, to Director Su.
It looks like you've gained new confidence since I've been away.
He offered her a parting nod, then walked away. Once he disappeared, Xinyi exhaled and turned back toward An, expression turning to scorn. Xinyi, to An, low hiss.
Don't think I owe you anything. This success is mine. If you try to claim it, I'll destroy that pitiful foster mother of yours.
An merely bowed her head, feeling both anger and powerlessness. She wanted to speak out, but fear kept her silent. On a quiet evening soon after, the Su household returned from business around the city. The foyer's overhead chandelier dazzled the marble floors, but tension lurked beneath the surface. Word had gotten around that Huaijin was growing more curious about his fiancée's design talent, wanting private meetings to delve deeper into the stars concept. Under the cloak of night, Xinyi found An while she was dusting antique vases in the corridor. Xinyi, with a mocking smile.
Good news, dear stepsister. Huaijin invited me for dinner to discuss the press conference. But guess what? He likes the bold energy behind the second design. And that was your handiwork, wasn't it?
An paused her polishing and tried not to show any emotion.
Make sure you accompany me. I can't fully explain the details without you. Of course, you'll be invisible, just as always.
A nervous laugh escaped her lips as she turned on her heel and sauntered away. The next evening, the pair went to a lavish restaurant near Luo Group's offices. Before entering, Xinyi hatched a plan in her mind. If an opportunity arose, she would feign clumsiness or coyness, forcing An to speak up and thus supply the details. No one but An could fully articulate the creative vision behind the designs, after all. Inside, as they sat at the elegantly set table, Luo Huaijin fixed Xinyi with an attentive yet guarded stare. Something about her abrupt remarks and incomplete knowledge had left him suspicious. He asked a handful of pointed questions about design inspirations, relevant market data, and brand expansions. Xinyi fumbled momentarily, glancing sidelong at An, who kept her distance, timidly occupying a seat by the corner. Luo Huaijin, raising an eyebrow.
Miss Su, do you have anything to add about the future line extensions? You were so thorough in the pitch meeting, yet now you seem hesitant.
An, softly, as if to help.
Director Su, perhaps you'd like to talk about how the design integrates star motifs with recycled fabrics to align with current environmental trends?
She spoke just loud enough for Xinyi to hear and parrot the information back to Luo Huaijin. The synergy was so seamless that he couldn't ignore how strange it was. Xinyi would hesitate, then suddenly regurgitate exactly the right details. For a fleeting moment, Huaijin's eyes drifted toward An. He saw the gentleness in her posture, the exhaustion that lined her eyes, and something else, perhaps a pang of sorrow she tried to hide. He found himself wondering,
why does she seem familiar?
They continued the meal, but the dinner took a surprising turn when a power outage struck the building. The restaurant lights flickered, then went dark, accompanied by a brief surge of panic among the patrons. Xinyi, suddenly latching onto Huaijin.
Ah, Huaijin, it's so dark, I'm scared.
Her cry was theatrical, aimed at winning his pity. In reality, she was hoping the darkness would let her feign a fainting spell. Maybe he'd catch her in his arms, furthering their bond and securing his affection. An, who stood behind them, found herself torn between helping quell the chaos and silently watching the scene unfold. Yet, in the darkness, she noticed something unusual. Huijin's breathing sounded shallow, as if he too was struggling with a memory or a phobia. She remembered rumors that he had claustrophobia or some anxiety triggered by enclosed dark spaces.
I'm fine, I just need a moment.
He steadied himself against a nearby wall, ignoring Xinyi's attempt to latch onto him. At once, An realized his fear was real. She scrambled to find a phone flashlight, shining a glow around them. Her compassion overrode her fear of exposing herself.
Mr. Luo, are you all right?
Huijin turned at the soft sound of her voice, looking into her eyes in the dim light. A wave of calm washed over him as he recognized a strange, comforting presence. His breathing eased, and for a second they both stood transfixed. Xinyi, upset at being overshadowed, yanked An's arm to pull her away.
Get back, you worthless cleaning girl. I'll handle this.
But her attempt felt unnatural, forced. Huijin, still shaky, gently removed Xinyi's grip from his arm.
I appreciate your concern, but let's just find a safe way out.
When the lights returned, moments later, Xinyi noticed the shift in Huijin's posture. He seemed more guarded around her, yet more curious about An, who quickly averted her gaze, recalling the Su family's warning that she must never appear too close to him. Back at the Su estate, Xinyi unleashed her fury in private. She berated An for supposedly meddling where she did not belong and accused her of stealing Huijin's attention. Their mother, Madame Su, echoed these sentiments, reminding An that she should know her place and remain invisible unless commanded otherwise. An retreated to her small, cramped room, longing for her foster mother's presence. She recalled the promise that if she cooperated with the wedding ruse, the Su family would pay for her mother's hospitalization abroad. Yet the phone calls with her mother never rang true. All she ever heard were short, stilted voices repeating that her mother's condition was improving. Deep down, An suspected something amiss, but she had no proof. Only the fear that if she disobeyed, her mother's life would be endangered. As if to confirm her worst fears, Xinyi cornered her the next day, smirking while holding a phone. She replayed a doctored video message from abroad, showcasing what was supposedly her foster mother in a hospital bed, waving a faint greeting. However, the call ended abruptly, leaving An more suspicious than reassured.
Don't ask too many questions, dear sister, or do you want me to disconnect your mother for good?
Through tear-filled eyes, An nodded. She had no choice but to stay silent and accept this cruel fate. One early morning, An was tidying up the living room when she overheard excited chatter among the maids. Word had spread that Luo Huijin was returning from a brief business trip and might be visiting the Su household that afternoon, presumably to discuss a more official engagement. Indeed, by midday, a sleek black car pulled into the grand driveway. Huijin stepped out, exuding a commanding air. Xinyi and her parents rushed to greet him, exchanging pleasantries and offering tea in the lavish sitting area. An kept her distance, polishing silverware behind an ornate pillar. Luo Huijin, glancing around curiously,
Where is the one who cleaned up after the spill last time? The new maid. I believe she was present at the meeting.
A hush fell over the family. Xinyi froze, trying to form a convincing smile. Xinyi, laughing nervously,
Oh, you mean our family's helper? She's busy with house chores. Don't worry about her. Let's focus on our upcoming press conference.
Despite her dismissive tone, Huijin's eyes drifted once more around the room, as though unconvinced. But he let it slide. Soon enough, he announced his intention to finalize wedding details. The family cheered, the exact reaction he expected. Yet there was a subtle undercurrent of dissatisfaction in Xinyi's eyes. She wanted the engagement to be a sure thing, but a small, nagging voice in her head worried about An's presence and the effect it had on him. Time flew by, and the day of the press conference arrived. The event was set for late afternoon at the Luo Group's headquarters, a colossal building looming downtown. Xinyi prepared herself in a stunning designer outfit, while An, carrying reams of design documents, followed behind as the supposed assistant. By the time they arrived, the building bustled with reporters eager to snap pictures of the future Mrs. Luo. Xinyi, in the spotlight, feigned confidence. She struck proud poses and smiled for cameras. Anan tried to remain invisible behind her, grasping the stack of sketches. Shortly after the formal introduction to the press, Xinyi and Anan received an urgent request to join Huijin upstairs for a final check on the new Stars product line. They stepped into the elevator, accompanied by a small entourage from the Luo group. Unbeknownst to them, sabotage lurked in the hidden corners of the machinery. Someone had tampered with the power system, setting up a scene in which the elevator might suddenly stall. And it did. Midway up to the 25th floor, the lights flickered and the elevator lurched to an abrupt halt. The overhead bulbs dimmed, and the space grew uncomfortably claustrophobic. Immediately, Xinyi tried to act helpless, clinging to Huijin as if she might faint from fear. But in reality, the person trembling with genuine distress was Huijin himself, trying to manage his claustrophobia.
Not again. I have to. Someone hit the emergency call.
The moment she realized how petrified he was, An swiftly pressed the emergency button and tried to calm him, gently holding his arm as he slumped against the elevator wall.
It's okay. We'll be out soon. Just stay with me.
In the dim light, her voice seemed to anchor him. Even as Xinyi fussed over him dramatically, he oddly gravitated toward An's quiet confidence. At last, the lights flicked back on, and, with a jolt, the elevator resumed. Huijin inhaled deeply, looking from Xinyi to An. He murmured a shy thank you, but behind his eyes lay the surety that someone in that elevator was not who they seemed to be. Before anyone could speak further, the doors slid open, revealing a swarm of reporters who had just caught wind of the elevator malfunction. Microphones and cameras shoved forward. Reporter, eagerly.
Mr. Luo, is it true you're confirming your engagement with Miss Su? Are you two planning a wedding soon?
Another reporter.
Mr. Luo, can you share details about the new bridal collection rumored to be worth millions?
Xinyi squared her shoulders, stepping forward to address them. But even as she managed a dazzling smile, she cast a heated glance back at An, a silent warning that said, "Stay in line." If you were the main character, what would you do? Comment below. Later that evening, the press conference concluded successfully, at least in the public eye. However, tensions soared within the Su family. After they returned home, Xinyi lashed out at An once more, accusing her of trying to steal the spotlight. Madame Su railed against her for overshadowing her stepsister. Mr. Su bellowed about the corporate deals that needed to go smoothly, or else they'd all be doomed. An, exhausted from the day's ordeal, retreated to her cramped room. She sank onto her small bed, hugging her knees. Tears threatened to spill as she thought about her mother's uncertain condition and the heartache of seeing her carefully crafted work displayed under Xinyi's name. Despite it all, a small spark of defiance lit up within her chest. The memory of that elevator ride and the soft gratitude in Huijin's eyes gave her courage. For too long she had bowed to the Su family's every whim, but she could not ignore how she felt a growing sense of responsibility for her own future. An, whispering to herself,
This can't go on forever. I have to find a way to protect Mother and reclaim my life.
She didn't know what shape that plan would take, but one thing was sure. Day by day, she was growing stronger than anyone realized. As the sun climbed higher, casting golden rays through the expansive windows of the Su estate, the tension within the household intensified. The weight of expectations bore heavily on Su An, the younger sister often overshadowed by Su Xinyi's grace and beauty. Today was different. Today, An was to step into a role that was never meant for her, thrusting her into the limelight in a desperate bid to salvage the family's declining fortunes. Su An moved quietly through the mansion, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. She had never imagined herself in such a position, let alone replacing her stepsister on a blind date arranged to secure an alliance with Luo Huijin, the enigmatic CEO of the powerful Luo Group. The stakes were impossibly high. Failure was not an option. Their family's business depended on this union, and the pressure to succeed weighed heavily on An-An's shoulders. In the grand dining hall, preparations were underway for the impending meeting. The room was adorned with elegant decorations, a testament to the Su family's enduring legacy. Madame Su oversaw every detail with meticulous precision, her sharp eyes missing nothing. Su Xinyi, poised and composed, observed the arrangements with a calm exterior that belied the anxiety she felt beneath.
Ensure everything is perfect. Luo Huijin expects nothing less.
An took a deep breath, steeling herself as she approached her mother. The older woman's stern gaze softened momentarily as she placed a reassuring hand on An-An's shoulder. Madame Su, firm yet supportive.
Remember, this is not just about business. It's about preserving our family's legacy. You can do this.
Meanwhile, Luo Huijin prepared for the meeting in his sleek modern office. Known for his impeccable taste and decisive nature, Huijin was a man who commanded respect effortlessly. His office, a blend of contemporary design and subtle opulence, reflected his status and authority. As he reviewed the final details of his presentation, his thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door.
Come in.
The door opened to reveal his assistant, Miss Li, who handed him a neatly organized folder. Miss Li, respectfully,
Everything is set for the meeting, Mr. Luo.
Thank you, Miss Li. Please ensure everything runs smoothly.
As the hour of the meeting approached, both families gathered in the opulent dining hall. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken tension, each party acutely aware of the high stakes involved. Su An, dressed in a modest yet elegant outfit, stood nervously beside her mother, while Su Xinyi maintained her serene demeanor, a silent testament to her resilience. Luo Huijin entered the room, his presence commanding immediate attention. His sharp suit and confident stride exuded authority, making it clear why he was revered in business circles. As he approached the Su family, his eyes briefly met Anand's, sparking an unspoken curiosity.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to our collaboration.
We are honored to have you, Mr. Luo. Let us proceed.
The meeting commenced with formal introductions and discussions of mutual interests. Su Xinyi articulated the strengths of their business partnership with eloquence, while Su Anan observed keenly, absorbing every detail in hopes of making a positive impression despite being thrust into an unfamiliar role. As the conversation progressed, it became evident that Luo Huijin was not just a formidable businessman, but also a man of profound depth and subtle charm. His insights were sharp, and his vision for the future resonated with the Su family's aspirations. However, beneath the professional facade, there was an undeniable spark of something more, a connection that neither party could quite define.
Your family's legacy is impressive. I believe with the right collaboration, we can achieve remarkable things together.
We share your vision, Mr. Luo. Together, we can create a partnership that stands the test of time.
As the meeting drew to a close, both families felt a sense of cautious optimism. The foundations for a promising alliance had been laid, but the true test was yet to come. Su Anan, despite her initial reservations, felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps, in stepping out of the shadows and embracing this unexpected role, she could find her own path to significance within the Su family's intricate tapestry. Later that evening, as the Su family gathered for a celebratory dinner, the mansion buzzed with an air of tentative excitement. Luo Huijin, ever the gentleman, engaged in light conversation with the Su family members, his charisma making him a natural focal point of attention. Su Anan, still adjusting to her new role, found herself seated beside him, the proximity igniting a mixture of anxiety and intrigue.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Anan. Your mother has spoken highly of your dedication.
Thank you, Mr. Luo. I'm just doing my best to support our family.
As the evening progressed, subtle interactions and shared glances hinted at a budding connection. Luo Huijin found himself drawn to An's quiet strength and sincerity, qualities that stood in contrast to the polished exterior of the Su family's public image. Meanwhile, An couldn't help but notice the genuine interest and kindness reflected in Huaijin's eyes, a stark difference from the cold, calculated demeanor she had anticipated. The night culminated in a toast to future collaborations, glasses clinking and smiles exchanged. As the guests began to depart, Luo Huaijin lingered a moment longer, his gaze meeting An's once more, hinting at the possibility of something deeper beneath the surface of their professional engagement. Back in her room, Su An reflected on the day's events. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but the unexpected interactions with Luo Huaijin had ignited a spark of hope. Perhaps, amidst the chaos and pressure, she could carve out her own destiny, a destiny intertwined with love and the promise of a brighter future for both their families. Little did she know this was only the beginning of a journey that would test her resilience, redefine her relationships, and ultimately lead to an unexpected romance that would change both their lives forever. The morning sun cast a warm, golden hue over the Su family estate, signaling the beginning of a new day filled with hope and uncertainty. The events of the previous days had left an indelible mark on both families, intertwining their fates in ways none had anticipated. Su An, once relegated to the shadows, now found herself at the heart of a delicate balance between duty and desire. Inside the opulent mansion, the atmosphere was a blend of tension and anticipation. Madame Su moved with purpose, orchestrating the final preparations for the upcoming engagement party that would solidify the alliance between the Su and Luo families. The grand ballroom was adorned with exquisite decorations, each detail meticulously planned to reflect the union of two powerful dynasties. Meanwhile, Su Xinyi stood by the window, her elegant silhouette framed by the morning light. Despite the facade of composure she maintained, her mind was a whirlwind of emotions. The pressure to uphold the family's legacy weighed heavily on her shoulders, but beneath her serene exterior lay a fierce determination to protect what she held dear. Across town, in the sleek offices of the Luo Group, Luo Huaijin was equally engrossed in the preparations. His sharp mind worked tirelessly, ensuring that every aspect of the partnership was flawless. As the CEO of one of the most influential corporations, Huaijin was no stranger to high-stakes negotiations, yet the personal connection he felt towards Su An added a layer of complexity to his responsibilities. Su An walked through the estate's corridors, her thoughts consumed by the recent developments. Her decision to step in for her stepsister had set off a chain of events that neither she nor anyone else could have foreseen. As she approached the grand staircase, her path intersected with Luo Huaijin, who had arrived early to oversee the final touches.
Good morning, Anan. You look radiant today.
Thank you, Mr. Luo. I'm just trying to ensure everything goes smoothly.
Their eyes met, and for a moment the world seemed to pause. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a recognition of the challenges they both faced. Huaijin's presence was commanding, yet gentle, his genuine interest in Anan evident in his eyes. As the day progressed, the mansion buzzed with activity. Guests began to arrive, each one a vital piece in the intricate puzzle of the Su-Luo alliance. Madame Su orchestrated the flow with impeccable precision, her strategic mind ensuring that every detail was perfect. Su Xinyi, ever the epitome of grace, engaged with the guests, her interactions smooth and measured. Su An found herself navigating the social intricacies with newfound confidence. The interactions with Luo Huaijin had ignited a spark within her, a sense of purpose that transcended her previous role as merely a caretaker. She was no longer just a cleaning girl. She was an essential part of a larger narrative unfolding before her eyes. As the afternoon sun began to wane, the engagement party reached its zenith. The room was filled with laughter, conversations, and the clinking of glasses, all underscored by the harmonious melodies of a live orchestra. Madame Sue took her place at the head of the table, her demeanor exuding authority and grace.
To new beginnings and enduring partnerships, may our families prosper together.
Glasses clinked in unison, and the room echoed with approval. Luo Huaijin stood beside her, his presence a testament to the successful alliance. However, amidst the celebratory atmosphere, underlying tensions remained, threats lurking in the shadows as rivals plotted to undermine the fragile peace. As the evening progressed, Luo Huaijin found himself drawn to Suan An once more. Their interactions were subtle, marked by lingering glances and fleeting touches that spoke volumes of the growing connection between them. Suan An, too, felt the pull, her heart racing with each encounter. Later that night, as the festivities continued, Suan An took a moment to herself in the serene garden. The moonlight bathed the surroundings in a silvery glow, casting delicate shadows on the meticulously trimmed hedges and blooming flowers. She reflected on the whirlwind of events, the unexpected turns that had brought her to this pivotal moment. Luo Huaijin approached quietly, his footsteps barely audible on the gravel path. He joined her, standing beside her in comfortable silence, before breaking the stillness with his soft voice.
You handled everything today exceptionally well, Anan. Your strength is admirable.
Thank you, Mr. Luo. I couldn't have done it without your support.
Their conversation flowed effortlessly, the barriers between them dissolving as they shared their fears, hopes, and dreams. Luo Huaijin spoke of his aspirations for the Luo group, his desire to innovate and lead with integrity. Suan An opened up about her struggles within the Su family, her yearning for recognition and a sense of belonging.
You deserve to be seen for who you truly are, Anan. Not just as a replacement, but as someone with your own merits.
Your words mean a lot, Mr. Luo. I've always felt overshadowed, but today felt different.
As the night deepened, their bond strengthened, laying the foundation for a relationship that transcended the confines of business and familial obligations. Suan An realized that her journey was not just about saving her family's legacy, but also about discovering her own identity and capacity for love. The following days were a whirlwind of activity as both families prepared for the culmination of their strategic alliance. However, amidst the orchestrated harmony, dark forces sought to disrupt the fragile peace. Rivals within the business world and discontented members of the Su family conspired to sabotage the partnership, threatening to plunge both dynasties into chaos. Suan An, now more confident and determined, became a key player in navigating these challenges. With Luo Huaijin by her side, they confronted the adversities head-on, their combined strengths proving to be a formidable force against any opposition. Their teamwork not only fortified the alliance, but also deepened their personal connection, turning professional respect into heartfelt affection. One pivotal evening, as tensions reached their peak, a clandestine meeting was orchestrated by the rivals aiming to expose the Su-Luo partnership's vulnerabilities. Suan An and Luo Huaijin uncovered the plot, their swift actions thwarting the attempts to destabilize their union. This victory not only solidified their partnership, but also cemented their mutual trust and admiration. In the aftermath, as calm returned to their lives, Luo Huaijin and Suan An found themselves inseparable. Their love story, born out of necessity and nurtured by shared struggles, blossomed into a profound romance that bridged the gap between their worlds. The Su and Luo families, witnessing the genuine connection between their scions, embraced the union with open hearts, recognizing the strength it brought to their combined legacy. On the day of their official engagement, the grand ballroom shimmered with elegance and joy. Suan An, adorned in a stunning gown that blended traditional grace with modern sophistication, stood beside Luo Huaijin, whose dignified presence perfectly complemented hers. As they exchanged vows of partnership and love, the room erupted in applause, celebrating not just a business alliance, but the union of two souls destined to be together.
Anan, you have shown me what true strength and grace look like. I am honored to stand by your side, both in business and in life.
Huaijin, you have given me the courage to embrace my true self. I look forward to building our future together.
As they sealed their vows with a tender kiss, the Su and Luo families cheered, their hearts united by the love that had blossomed amidst adversity. The once tumultuous journey had led to a harmonious conclusion, where love triumphed over conflict and unity overcame division. In the days that followed, Su Anan and Luo Huaijin worked together to further strengthen their businesses, their combined expertise driving innovation and prosperity. Their partnership became a beacon of success, inspiring others within their circles and beyond. Su Anan, now recognized for her resilience and leadership, took on a prominent role within the Su family's enterprises, her voice and vision shaping the future of their legacy. Luo Huaijin, equally committed, continued to lead the Luo group with integrity and passion, his bond with Anan fueling his drive for excellence. Together they navigated the complexities of their intertwined lives, their love serving as the cornerstone of their enduring partnership. The challenges they faced had only strengthened their resolve, proving that even amidst chaos, love and unity could prevail. As the sun set on another day of triumph and togetherness, Su Anan and Luo Huaijin stood hand in hand, gazing towards a future filled with promise and shared dreams. Their journey, a testament to the power of love, resilience, and the courage to embrace one's true self, had only just begun, setting the stage for a lifetime of happiness and success. And so, the story of Su Anan and Luo Huaijin reached its poignant conclusion, a tale of unexpected love and unwavering determination that would be remembered for generations to come. If you enjoyed this story, there's another video on screen right now. Go ahead and give it a look for an even more astonishing tale. And don't forget, we'll have many more uplifting and dramatic stories coming your way, so make sure you subscribe to our channel. That way, you'll never miss our newest uploads.